But there's another side to it too. And this is the tactical strategic side. So this is like, you know what, whether you have the people behind you or not, what could be done here and could you achieve your objective? Now, to that, one of the best works of scholarship on the same period I was describing earlier is that this book, When Workers Shot Back, Class Conflict from 1877 to 1921 by Robert Ovitz. Ovitz is a pretty prolific writer, by the way. He has like 3 or 4 books out now. I've had the pleasure of getting to know him a little bit, but I've reviewed a couple of these things. He's a great thinker on the tactics of insurgency. And that's what you're actually talking about, because when you go on strike, because it's so often leads to violence, one of the things for us to kind of imagine as we contemplate a wildcat strike is, hey, guess what's going to become involved? The police, the National Guard, the military, private Pinkerton type mercenary police. Like, you're going to get confrontations. These confrontations are endemic to railroad strikes. So what you're talking about now is the potential and possibility of violence on the rails, violence against bystanders. Now, can you imagine how poor the optics would be for the New York Post crowd if police were harmed or killed in a confrontation with workers? What Fox News would do? In other words, you have to start preparing for all those contingencies. But by the way, I'm not saying that those contingencies are enough to rule out a strike. I'm saying you have to walk your mind down that road. Now, one of the things that Ovitz says, and I just want to read a couple of sentences here, is he has a very rational way to think of it, and he groups it all under what he calls the trajectory theory of violence. And I think this is an important couple sentences for thinking through what a wildcat strike would do. One, the trajectory theory of violence is based on a careful examination of tactics and strategy in the context of the available political space, balance of class power, and class composition. Each step along the trajectory is a tactic, and movement to a higher intensity tactic is determined by the strategy to achieve the objective. So in other words, what would the wildcat strike accomplish, and could it actually lead to 7 days sick pay? Now, if you can imagine a scenario where it would lead to that, great, but go back to the Chomsky trilogy, dude. Remember, one of the things Chomsky said is, if you go out and do a direct action that's unfocused, you might actually invite blowback that leads you more away from the very thing that you're trying to demand. So in other words, if you're going to conduct these kinds of activities, you want to do so strategically and rationally.